Yeah, just go through anybody else that may not come off the board this weekend. They may or not. They're gonna be on that edge. But even if they don't, we know as soon as the draft's over, they're going to be fielding like 10, 15 phone calls right away and trying to figure out where they should go to camp to try to make an NFL roster.
There's really two guys that stand out to me right here, and that's going to be probably Emmett Rice. I think when we were watching him at Pro Day, looked really, really smooth. And I thought that if he could have been healthy last year, I think he would have put himself into a third round, second round. I mean, he looked really, really good near the latter half of that 2020 season, and sadly gets hurt against the Florida game, the last game of the season. And I thought he was contemplating going ahead and going to the NFL draft and putting his name in there, because I think he had already done enough, because he's already got the build of an NFL linebacker. Because we also saw DeCalon Brooks competing. This is no knock on DeCalon Brooks, but I don't think he got the full-on genetics from his dad, Derek Brooks. Emmett Rice just looks it's a whole 180. And so I'm really looking forward to Emmett Rice getting an opportunity, because I think he has a chance. If it's later in the draft, great, that's awesome. But then, if he's able to pick up an option practice squad, he's gonna dominate. And so if he's fully healthy, and it seems like he's fully ready to go. But I thought he looked good. I thought his hips looked good during his pro day. His feet, he's a lot quicker, a lot more shifty. He's still, I think, working on his body a little bit more, and he'll continue to do that. But Emmett Rice, I think, is a guy that is going to get into getting a chance pretty early after the NFL draft, or maybe late in the NFL draft. And like I said, he could have gone. I think if he wouldn't have been injured after that, during that Florida game, I think he was contemplating going into that draft anyways. So we're keeping an eye on Emmett Rice and wherever he lands. And then another one is going to be Jordan Wilson, tight end. Whenever we were at fall camp or fall practices, a lot of scouts I was hearing we're looking for number 4, the big guy, number 4. And there are two guys at number 4 with Keir Thomas and Jordan Wilson. But when I said offense, I was like, oh, yeah. So they're looking for Jordan Wilson, formerly UCLA, transferred tight end. Took a little bit of a slower start. This was just a 1-year guy in Tallahassee, Mark. But later on in the season, things just started clicking for Jordan Wilson. Not only in the the run game blocking, where he was necessarily coming in to do, but really coming down with some grabs, and definitely down the field blocking. I think that's something that stands out to some scouts, and maybe started putting some eyes on him near to the latter half of the 2021 season. And he's just got the ultra build of an NFL tight end. That's a big guy. So those two, most certainly. And I don't think Jordan Wilson could be, like I said, it would be crazy. It's weird, hearing all these scouts at practices talking about Jordan Wilson. And so it would be wild. It would be pretty funny to see him actually get, drafted, at a certain 5 to 7 on Saturday. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye on Emmett Rice and Jordan Wilson. Not really a whole lot of mocks on them entirely, and that's where you'll see on that last day of the NFL draft, you could see a selection from these two former Noles. And then I'll mention on here real quick, Miko Dotson. I thought he had the best pro day out of everyone. I just don't know if there's enough film on him for him to be drafted, but he absolutely killed it during his pro day, running right there in the 4.4 range. Absolutely killed it. Had the most bench reps out of anybody in the country. If he would have been at the combine, he would have had the most bench reps outside of the defensive backs in this year's combine. Not that a defensive back, nothing really stands out to me if a defensive back is hitting so many reps on bench, but it just goes to show what kind of special athlete he is to be able to run that fast, lift that much and as many reps. But I'm just worried that there's not enough film on him for them to work with, because mainly I think they're going to have to go down, because he wasn't fully healthy throughout his time here in Tallahassee, Mark. I think they're going to have to go back to his time at FAU, which he was a younger player. And I still think he was going to be one of the top defensive backs for Florida State if he was fully healthy. He led the country in interceptions his last year at FAU. So he knows where to get to the ball and stay near it. So we'll see. This will be a fun draft, but whoever's sleeping on Keir Thomas, I hope my Steelers aren't. I'll take them.